Executive Director, Emergency and Risk Alert Initiative, Olajuyigbe Adegbenro, joins us now to share his thoughts on this. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Olugbenro.
Okay. Well, government's reaction has always been, government's approach has always been reactionary. How can the citizens change this?
Well, I think it's not about citizen alone. We should compel government to take responsibility for most of the things it has signed on, especially the international protocol, even including the UN SDG that you are talking about in terms of environment. Environment is a comprehensive subject, and it determines how far man can go on the face of the earth. We must quickly realize that, and government, particularly in Nigeria, must be responsible enough to appreciate the fact that there is need for preparedness in everything we do. We can't be reactive, as you have said, responding to flood disaster year after year without a comprehensive detail of putting in place preparedness plan that does not only reduce the risk, but equally encourage action that connote contingency during emergency, instead of leaving people to their fate, leading to unnecessary death, destruction of property and livelihood. Those are the issues that should be part of the conversation, even as we are getting out of the vestige of what flood has caused in Nigeria this year.
All right. Not too long ago, the Minister of War...
And also... Hello?
Hello, yes. Not too long ago, the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, said that it is not the responsibility of the federal government to fight flooding. It is the responsibility of the states. But I want to ask you, how does that position resonate with you, knowing full well that the states are not in control?
Let me just answer your question straight away. That is extreme part of ignorance. Who defines the boundary for waters? Who creates where water stops or where water goes from north to south? The river Niger we have, how many states is it passing through? Whose responsibility? How can that be the look? Emergency response has grade. I'm not saying that state has no responsibility. State has been so impotent in their response to the extent that they don't even states that have state emergency management agency has no fund. The leadership is not there. I'm talking of humanitarian leadership. It's not there. The contingency fund for early action is not there. The plans, preparedness plan is not there. Disaster risk reduction activities are not taking place in those states. Monies are coming. You alluded to the fact that of ecological fund. It has been in Nigeria for 47 years. So what has been happening to the fund? The fund has addressed basically nothing. I think no minister should teach us the states that a particular river or onslaught of flood belongs. River has no boundary. It's the responsibility of the state. It's the responsibility of the central government. We must appreciate that. We must not trade blame when it comes to disaster. It's a universal concept. A state cannot define what it's going to do. You are going to look at the scale of disaster. If it overwhelms the capacity of state to respond, to address, it becomes the central responsibility of the government at the center particularly. But then we must come together to appreciate the fact that there is need for us to have disaster maps, national disaster maps, and divide responsibility to states or to levels, local government level, state government level, central level, federal government level. Even individual and communities have roles to play. It's a collective role that should not leave anyone behind. I think this autopause assumption that NEMA is expected to coordinate has been the problem over the years. Coordinating what? Coordinating the stars that whose emergency agencies are not functioning. I think it's a collective responsibility.
A collective responsibility, very passionate there. But there are provisions of forest and green reserves in our building regulations of our cities. Why haven't this been enforced?
Yes, let me tell you, because I listened to the town planners' appeal in terms of planning town. That is good. It's a good appeal from their own professional angle. But let me quickly state that in the era of climate change, there is no object that is not on waterway. It becomes the responsibility of the government to appreciate that every house you have now, it doesn't matter how legal the plans are, they are on waterway. It depends on the quantum of water. It depends on where the water is rising from. When the capacity of water of land, soil to retain water is overwhelmed, you are going to have flood. Is that because
yes,
towns are poorly planned? I think this has become a cliche for those who are trying to escape from their responsibilities. I have visited the foremost affected areas. Currently, I'm in Niger State. I've been moving from Delta to Kogi to now Niger. So I can appreciate the quantum of water that affected these people. Most of them are affected at the river basin, where river overflow their banks. What does that have to do with town planning? We are talking of a country that has not managed its dam to take extra water that is coming from River Niger. We are talking of a country that has no a very conspicuous plan to ensure that the major rivers are dredged, especially River Niger and Benue.
Now,
so
Olajuyibe Olugbenro, we're going to have to leave it there now. Executive Director, Emergency and Risk Alert Initiative, would like to thank you so much for your passionate insights. Thank you for joining us on TVC News Hour.
It's a pleasure being with you.